Welcome to today's presentation. Let's Jira do the work for you. My name is Frank Ittermann and I'm a Jira enthusiast. Let's have briefly a look on the agenda. Today we will covering the following three topics you see on the agenda. But before we go into, I will briefly introduce myself and also give a briefly introduction of Jira and how I see the advantages, disadvantages. The first topic is roles and their responsibilities, their purpose and their expectation towards Jira. Then we go to the topic of artifacts or deliverables and how Jira is related to them and how Jira can help you to keep track of the different artifacts. Last but not least, I will present some features of Jira or tools that use certain features that is provided by Jira to really leverage the title of this presentation so that Jira is working for you and help you to achieve your goals. For each feature, I will also do a little demo or lab session where I show how you can use this feature, what it's offering you, how you can integrate it. It will be a little bit technical, but also not much. So be tuned. My name is Frank Ittermann and I'm worked in different fields and different professions during my career. And they were started as a Java engineer, becoming a senior, and then I switched to site reliability engineering and also becoming there a senior. Then in my current position, I'm in, let's say, a mixed role of team lead, product owner, and kind of scrum master. And during this path of my career, I worked with Jira and I used different features and I had different purposes and different occasions where I worked with Jira. So I want to share my thoughts and my ideas and my experience within these roles together with Jira. If the following question seems familiar to you, either you asked yourself or you received one of these questions or you actually also just have it in your own mind. I'm trying with this presentation or talk to answer some of these questions or to actually outline why they are coming up in the first place. For example, the always asked question or statement from a product owner is sometimes please update the tickets to reflect the current state. So therefore I will cover certain ways to achieve this with either tooling support or with a certain Jira feature. As you may realize, these different questions or statements also reflect the different roles they are working with Jira. And if you remember what I told you in the introduction of myself, I were working in these different roles and I also saw or raised all these statements or questions. So this should give you a briefly overview of the different personas and expectation in these different roles towards Jira. For now, just keep in mind there are different people in different roles that working with Jira and they have all different expectations and even different needs. We will talk about the different roles in the agenda point about the roles. Now I will introduce what's Jira, what isn't Jira, and the pros and the cons of Jira. Let's start. What's Jira in my opinion? It's a really flexible issue task tracker that were developed in the year 2002 and that's the core. So it's give you issues and you can manage them, you can track its history, its changes, you can collaboratively work on them. Then they introduce different types of issues like stories, tasks, subtasks, epics, features, and you can even define your own types and all the fields and all the things around this. You can of course define workflows, transitions, states, all what you need to have a full flexible issue task tracker. You can implement a simple task management for different teams or a full-fledged Scrum Kanban process. That's up to you. Jira provide you the basic, and you have to choose what you want to implement in sense of methodology. It's one of the widely integrated and adapted Atlassian products. There are others, as you may be familiar with, kind of Confluence, to name only a few. Jira is also providing a good backend service, a full-fledged REST service API. So if you want to only use the issue and task capabilities and you want to provide your own UI, for example, or you want to use different tools like command line tools or desktop programs, it's possible. I will briefly mention what isn't Jira, in my opinion, but just briefly. So it's not a full requirement management solution or project team management solution because they are normally really huge and they are not so flexible. So you have to set up a process, a workflow. You have to investigate a lot of setup time to have a proper solution. You have to decide everything before you really start using it to set up all the workflows, permissions. So it's a huge overhead to set these things up. But if after you have it set it up, it gives you a full restrict process that you cannot somehow, let's say, violate, or you cannot take shortcuts. So it's really for big corporates where you have all the processes and you need the strict of these processes in sense of compliance or other stuff. So this is not Jira, or there's not the space Jira is meant for. There are other solutions, namely big ones, really big ones, and yeah, and they have also a huge complex configuration. Um, Now I will outline some pros or advantages of Jira. So it's easy to start with. Just create an on-premise version or just set up an account in the cloud, and you're ready to go. You have a default workflow and also already project templates that you can start with, like Scrum, Kanban, Agile, and others. So just start using it and then you adapt it to your needs over time. That brings me to the next point. It's highly flexible at, you can almost say, all times, so you can customize even workflows later on. So you have tickets and everything there already there for a year, and now you want to change some workflows whatsoever. You can do this. The only burden is then, let's say, if you make bigger changes, you have to transform the old tickets or the old data to the new one. But this is in every time if you make a big change in software, you have to do this. It's also widely accepted and adopted, at least in software development projects, and it has a tons of integration and others. So it's a huge community. You can get a lot of support. You find a lot of useful articles, information like this talk, and so on. Because Jira is so flexible and customizable, it means also there is mostly not only one way to achieve what you want. So that's also make it easy to adapt, but it also has a, let's say, a burden that is a kind of going to the disadvantages now. That's tendency is to have a complex configuration. So if you want to achieve something and there are hundreds of ways, so you have to most probably find your way, and you have also to understand a lot of the configuration. And if you look into Jira, you see there's a lot of parts that were developed over time or they were integrated later on. So there is sometimes, if you look if you look on things, it makes logically no sense why they are split it in different components, or why you have an UI that specify more or less similar things, but on a different page or something like this. So you see a little bit where Jira comes from and the history of the program. But let's say that's the cost for flexibility. So if you can customize everything, then it's becoming, of course, complex if you dig deeper. But there are a lot of information, and the Jira support is also there for helping you. that goes also hand in hand with the other 2 points on the, let's say, disadvantages list. It's yeah, you have sometimes also a tendency to design complex workflows with transition that have conditions that states can just go to the next one and not go back. And so if you spend a lot of time to design your workflows, you have also a tendency to over engineer or to make them more complex as maybe needed. That will block then later on, let's say, the velocity of the tickets or the work that will be done, because you have to transition from different states. So one word of advice maybe here: keep the workflow a little bit easy going, and check if you can maybe achieve the things differently with labels, components, whatsoever other features in Java, because the workflow is really not something you want to adjust on a daily basis. Jira, as any other software or tool, needs regular maintenance and adjustments. So you have to clean up old workflows, old screens, and all the other artifacts in Jira or the configurations of Jira to not get it messy over time. So that's just something that you normally have to do with any software you use.
As I was also more or less part of all these 3 roles, and we are all working with other teams, so everybody can identify with the 4th one, of course. Normally, as a developer, Jira is not your first tool of choice, tool of work. So it's more or less of, let's say, like a documentation thing. So you do it on the side. You mostly code-centric architecture, and mostly maybe should be documentation. And you have more the tendency of your implementation solution focused than, let's say, issue and requirement focused. So that is for the role as a developer. As a product owner, on the other side, you are more focused on the customer, product, and so on the roadmap that basically connect the two. So you have a completely different view, and you are mostly what your purpose or what you want to achieve with Jira is a kind of collaboration, communication, and having a change log that you see certain features. It's me or somebody else. You can still hear me, I hope. Okay. As a product owner, you basically want to see the progress in Jira. So you don't want to look in pull request code whatsoever. And so it's more you're on the tracking side of things. As a team lead, if this role is split, as a team lead, you most probably want to know how the team performs and how basically is the workload and the efficiency of the team. So you are not majorly maybe focused on what was done, so more how was it done and how is the workload of certain people or the overall team. And of course, for the other teams, you use Jira as a collaboration communication channel, so that you maybe have linked tickets that you know, okay, we're waiting for the team to finish this, then we can start with this one. So you use it more for an inter-team, of course, team communication and documentation, of course, so you share requirements. And this different roles means also Jira has to fulfill all of them in some way or the other. So basically, what is in Jira and why, or how I see Jira in the circle of the journey from a use case to a product is basically describing why we do what we do and how we do it, and in the end, basically, it should come out a product, or let's say an artifact. In this sense, I call it actually product that is really for the customer. And Jira is basically involved in the whole journey. Let's say more on the first 2 than on the second 4. Also more from point 1 to 2 than from 3 to 4. But it's the choice how you use it actually. So just summarize a little bit here. Basically, in the why, you have mostly the focus and the step of collecting requirements and engage with, if you can, with the customer. And you are more focusing on the design, so you're not going in details, but you already write up a kind of use cases that you want to achieve, and basically why you want to achieve them. And in the second phase, basically you wrap up all the use cases and point it down to issues, or let's say tickets, that describe a little bit what you want to do, what you want to offer to the customer in a more detailed implementation focused way. And there you're mostly focusing on architecture, collaboration, so that you know who to involve, how to involve, this kind of thing. And from there, basically you go directly to the code. You should know a little bit, maybe not 100%, but let's say 80% kind of what you want to do. And then you drill it down to certain services, so that you know, okay, this team, this developer kind of can be really focusing on just the implementation. And from there, basically, after, let's say, a sprint in this sense, you will have finally, hopefully, a deliverable called product. And then basically the circle can start again, or you just make the next iteration for the next version of the same product. So that is basically Jira is involved endlessly in the whole cycle. That's basically how I would position Jira and how I see it actually also in data for life. Maybe more involvement in the 2 and also in the 3, not so much, I guess, in the 1 and the 4, but as I said, that's up to us actually. With this set, basically, I would go now to what is offering Jira to us, how you can use it, what basically. Oh, I can move this thing here. Never mind. So basically, and there's if you not noticed that the legend here means a little bit the skill level. So from let's say babyface is beginner to intermediate, and the ninja thing is you should have a little bit advanced skills and knowledge on Jira. So basically, Jira offers kind of 4. I group them in 4 topics. That is basically an API. Filters, integration, and this is a new feature, roughly, I guess, a year old kind of, automation, or they call it project automation. And there's also different groups that are, like the roles I presented before, that have a little bit more from one feature or the other. So they will either use this more or have more outcome, have it more going their way, kind of. So that is just for, let's say, for the collection. I would go anyway and cover some of the features in the so-called demo or labs. And there is, please, the non-developers, bear with me a little bit, because the first session is a little bit techy, but it's the only one. And as I said, Jira is living from the input that it gets from the developers, basically. And it's basically, as far as I see it in the engineering department, it's developer-centric. So they have to be a part of it. So bear with me this one first demo. So basically here I categorize, like I said before, the roles and the features in sense of what I present and who most probably will participate or who most probably will use this feature. So let's just start with the API, so-called. There is a nice REST API that is actually offered by Jira. If you are, let's say, Bash hardcore, why? Come on. Oh. If you are Bash hardcore, then you would use the curl below, kind of, but it becomes a little bit, yeah, let's say, it's not so handy. So there's actually a nice Go binary. Fun fact is, it was originally developed by Netflix, and it's now moved to own kind of repository. That's basically implement a terminal client based on the Jira REST API. So let me switch a little bit to, okay. Everything that I present here is also, you can in this session, if you can still follow the presentation, you can use this repository here and start the Docker container. Then you have the same what you see here on my screen, this one. And this basically gives you, can I open this one? Yeah. This basically gives you a terminal where you have certain bash functions that intercorporate basically Git and this Go Jira thingy. So, but don't go too much in the code, more on what you can do with this. So basically, you don't leave the terminal and you can fully interact with Jira. And you have also the possibilities to not just see the Jira UI. If you like UIs, it's actually great, but I see it has a lack of multi-project, or let's say across project views. And what is fancy on this Go Jira thingy is basically how you write your queries. You can basically also say, show me everything that is in Jira, basically, no matter what's the project. Let's see if my script's working. Ah, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, so you have, you can with this Go command do everything that you can do basically with the UI. But the nice thing is for as a developer or even non-developers and you use the terminal, you have the tendency you don't have to leave your terminal and you can integrate things on the bash, let's say, kind of layer. So what means you can create, like what I did here, basically just created, if you open this one, let's open this one basically. It's just created a Jira ticket. If it's, okay, it just created a Jira ticket from a terminal. In the same time, I get the ID and I can, let's say, do a commit on this. And I don't have to, what I feel as a developer or sometimes annoyed is you have a ticket that's most probably maybe really a good one, describe everything. You have to sometimes rewrite all the commit messages and stuff. So you could also just use, let's say, with a little bit bash code, you could just generate the commit message out of the ticket. And you can link the ticket in the commit message without typing it. Like it was done here, right? So this was basically just knowing I'm created this ticket is my current working ticket. So the next commit goes to the ticket and automatically it's also connected in Jira. Without that, I as a developer or I from the terminal have to do anything beside running a little command. And finally, you should actually see it here that there was already a commit if I'm, yeah, wonderful. So, and basically you see I don't have to type much. So that is basically from the developer side, really nice. And the next thing you could basically do is I'm working on this ticket and I have a Git integration. So now I've just tagged Git branch with, let's say, the first lines of the summary. So you can really use this Jira client and with a little bit Git bash magic, you can get away all this annoying typing and going to the browser, maybe doing something there, copy, whatever. So you really can just do everything from the terminal. Never have to leave it, basically. So this was basically the developer side of things. With this, basically, you should, where's my, yeah, great. So with this, you should be basically able to easy work on issues. And basically also could really integrate them in your daily work better. That leads to more updates, that leads to better linked, and that leads maybe to less disturbance in your coding work. So you just type this command, you don't leave the terminal, you don't go to the ticket, then you have a new UI, you have a context switch whatsoever. So you could be just really starting on the ticket and continue your work on the code, and Jira is updated without any, let's say, context switch. So this would basically, for the product owner, let's say this, it would lead your developers more lucky and the acceptance to use Jira is quite better. If it's not, let's say, from the beginning question, it's an annoying thing to do, clicking 5 times to transition the issue and whatsoever. So now we're coming away from the technical part. So maybe the developers stay with me. So I describe now a little bit the work from a product owner point of view and what Jira is offering there. So you have basically, if I guess you know already, everybody who works with Jira, you have this kind of filters, but maybe what you don't realize yet is the filter is the fundamental for everything else you can build, what is described here. Email subscriptions are based on filters. Jira dashboards are most probably based on projects, but also on filters. If you want to embed Jira views and issues and stuff in Confluence, they are also built on filters. So basically, if you get your filters right, you can use the rest as a nice extension, basically. And what does a filter mean, roughly? Let me click on. Okay. So let me preload the others, then maybe it's faster. Looks like you all are consuming my bandwidth. So okay, here we go. So basically, that is a filter, easy one. I created for this presentation a little Java project that has only things in it for this presentation or from this presentation, and I used this demo to prepare the presentation, by the way. So there are tickets of setting up things. Anyway, so that is a filter. This filter describes basically a project. This called Jira, the short for this project. And there you have the normal GQL thingy, so you can filter everything. And then you can save it. And what is, maybe you know, you don't know, and the next filters can be based on filters. So you can have a filter that's described, okay, this is my project, this is how I structure my issues, that is how I want to see things, how I want to filter out things that I'm never ever interested in this project whatsoever. And then I can make a filter that says, okay, use this filter for the basic filtering, and then I have certain stuff on top. So that means if you have to change your underlying filter or your structure, or you want to try out a little bit a new approach with labels whatsoever, then you can just change the basic filter, and every other filter that is based on this automatically is updated everywhere. So you don't have to go over all the filters and change this little line whatsoever in the underline in every filter. That's just kind of, you have an inheritance in filters in Jira. There are some limits, but if you don't over-engineer the thing, it's quite good and handy. So basically what you have here is that is a filter that says, please show me, based on this project filter, every issue that was updated in the last 10 minutes. And this one was just what I created before from the terminal. So this was basically the filter, and that, as I said, is the underlying of everything else. Where I have it? Here. Okay, here. So basically what I did, I set up based on this filter here. You can set up a subscription. Subscription means Java is running this filter for you once. You defined it when. And then if it's get any issues, then it sends you an email basically. So here you say every 10 minutes, send me an email if there is an issue that's hitting in this filter. So if there is nothing, you don't get an email. You can decide it actually, but if there is something, you get an email, and then you get something like this. So I should have a new one. Let's see. Yeah, here. So I have a new one that says, okay, yeah, this one that I created before was updated. So I can really get, let's say, in 9 a.m. in the morning, I get a daily update as a product owner that says, okay, what was the ticket that were done yesterday? Just only with this subscription and having a white filter in place, for example. Don't use it too much, then you get an overloaded in your inbox. That was my experience, but for a roughly overview, it's really good. The next thing would be Jira dashboards. That's basically, I don't know if you're familiar with, as far as I see, it's the major purpose for this, at least for me, in my team is, as the team lead, to see how the team is behaving, how is the efficiency, how is, let's say, the ratio of closed tickets, if there's a drop, or if there's an increase. That basically gives you some overview of how your team is behaved. Maybe you see, do I have it here? Actually not. Yeah, here. You have, for example, an average age chart that says how long is a ticket in a certain condition. If you see there is really going up, for example, then you see there's something not performing in the team. Either the tickets are too bad because they have to always rediscuss, reshape, and whatsoever. So the age of the tickets tell you a little bit of the age of the tickets in certain transitions or states tell you a little bit how your team is behaving or how the quality of the ticket is. So this is more for a roughly overview. It's also good for a product owner, but for me, it feels like it's more for a team lead to see velocity or workload stuff related. You can see what is the ratio of assigned to one people, maybe one in your team get all, or it's widely distributed, but over interpret these numbers. They are just giving more you a tendency where you can then ask things or going a little bit deeper. It's not hard science, I would say. This is a feature of Jira, so it's just dashboards as you are here in Jira UI. And there are certain I use already for our teams, our departments. Then the next that is really interesting actually is you can embed a lot of things in Confluence from Jira if you have the filters right. And what this brings you basically is what we do in SAE, for example, is we have a once a week a bigger planning, and therefore we don't use the board. We have a certain Confluence page that just, let's say today, just showing our in a template fashion the different tickets in a different state, basically. This is all based on filters with certain, so you have a base filter and then you define in your table here the kind of the rest in the filter. And there is a way to do it like you have it in Jira, just a backlog, show me everything that is in closed whatsoever. And for, let's say, the ninja or advanced people, there is the possibility that you have it as historical, meaning you can define the filter to show me all the tickets and the state of this ticket in a certain time range. So you can say, please show me all the tickets that were in the state closed from today to tomorrow. Doesn't make sense. From yesterday to today, for example. And if this ticket then is in a different state tomorrow, it doesn't care. It would be still here listed as let's say done, and tomorrow it's closed. Then it's basically here it's changing the state to closed, but you still see it was 2 days ago it was in a done or in to do or whatsoever. So you can have a historical view, but this is really an advanced thing. So you can also just build a normal Jira board kind of thing, but in Confluence. Because I saw also Data for Life, some of the boards are becoming really huge. If you have cross-team boards or something, it becomes a little bit a problem if you have more than, let's say, 10, 20 tickets. It's become a little bit a messy thing. So this could be an alternative if you filter more. Or if you have proper filters, you can use the filters as well in the board in Jira. So if you want to have more on a historical view, ask me later. It's a little bit complex, so I would skip it for now, actually. So with this said, we would coming now to the integration part of Jira that basically cover this three, and we have a couple of more, but this three I would cover here. Basically all of the, okay, this not, but the GitHub and the Slack you saw already, but it was not, let's say, visible to you. Let's start with the Slack one. So Jira has a Slack integration where you can set up basically a channel, and then you get all notifications that you assign for. So I had set up Jira to say, show me everything that is happening in the IT operations project and in this Jira project. So and then you see certain things happening here. And if you like, I don't know, you can also interact with Jira here and create tickets and stuff. But yeah, I don't like this much. I only wanted to know if things happening. Basically, you get a nice notification. And so this is basically the Slack part. And then there's the GitHub integration part that basically shows, do I have it here? Yeah, here. Shows you here what's happening to your ticket. Therefore, you have to either in the branch name, in the commit, you have to somehow mention the ticket ID, the key. And there's something so-called smart commits from Jira, where you can even, I don't use it this way, but they offer this way, where you can even send commands over the commit. So you can say this key comment, and then you say the comment, and this comment is stored in Jira in this ticket. Or you can say close the ticket or something like this. But be still aware that's in your Git command, in your Git commit message. So, but they offer it, so it's up to you to use it, basically, if you think it makes sense. The other thing, how I can present it, okay, let's go to the board, basically. What I also have set up is basically, you can have the full workflow. So you have basically a pull request open, then if you follow the message template, basically, so you mentioned the key, then Jira track the commit, the pull request, and should even track, okay, in this sense, you see it was already not tracking this one. It should also track the branch, basically. Does it? Yeah, okay. So the branch, the underlying commit, and the pull request. And basically what that's bringing to the next topic of project automation, actually. So if I open here a ticket, as I did before, this one, and I created a new branch. Let's maybe change something for the sake of this. So now I can actually, let's commit it. Yeah, committed. This one not. So this is the template. So I worked on this one, and so what you should see now, basically, with the GitHub integration, is that this was the 28th, right? That should already be moved into progress. Yes, here I am. I didn't click anything, so it was just moved here because there is this so-called project automation that I set it up for this project and for the SRE project or the IT operations. If it would load, basically what it does is if it sees a commit, a pull request, a branch, it's transition the mentioned ticket in the proper state. So if it see a pull request, it would transmission it in review, for example. This way you don't have to click the tickets through, the tickets following basically your code, and you get away from this annoying thing. There is something you have to consider for having this. If you have, let's say, if you structure your ticket and your code this way, that you have a code that's reflecting multiple tickets on a commit, pull request, or branch based, then it could become a little bit a mess. Or if you have commits that are not really aligned to a ticket, then you cannot use it. So it just only work if you have a little bit a good structure between the size of the tickets and the work on the commits. So they have to be, best would be 1 and 1. Or they have to be at least on an overall ticket that you can always mention. So there is a little bit a limitation to this, but it's also, I see it sometimes good if you don't have a pull request 10 tickets, kind of. So you have to follow certain things to use the full power, let's say, on this feature. How I made this actually optional. If this ticket is labeled with GitHub, it would use the automation. If it's not labeled, for example, this is how I did it. Everybody can choose its own. If it's not labeled this, it would not transition any ticket. So that is basically how you would say, please use it for this one ticket, but not for another. This would be the GitHub integration. Yeah, okay, if you want to see the Jenkins integration, it's becoming also technical, but I can show you the result basically. So basically I have here in my Confluence board, right? I have here a filter that says, okay, please show me only tickets that I'm reflecting, let's say, a build, right? And these tickets were automatically created from a build in Jenkins. And what it does, basically, it must not be a ticket. You could also say it's a value in your ticket. It's a comment, whatsoever. It's up to you. It just should show you the integration. What it does, basically, it creates a ticket that's 1 and 1 for one build. And it's linked the ticket, as you see here, that is basically triggered this build, or that was in the commit of this build. So this way you could model kind of builds into Jira if you want to. This, I wouldn't show it. I could show it on a POC, but not now. If you want to see it, maybe just come to me later on. The interesting things basically with this GitHub integration, for example, or others, is this so-called project automation in Jira. And I see already that some of you are using it. Really nice. If you want to know more on it, you can also ask Mona or Samuel. They already used it for their projects. So they all know the power, so to say. So maybe let's look at this one. That is integration thingy, and look at where I have one interesting. Yeah, let's look on auto close tickets. So basically what you can do here, and this, as you see hopefully in a second, it doesn't need any technical skill. It's just really for UI things. So you can build it as a kind of wizard. So you define something let's call it trigger, what it should do, and also when it should do it, and what should be part of it, let's say. So this just say, please, every once a day, run this automation, and check if there are any tickets in the status done. And they weren't updated in the last 2 weeks. And then just transition this ticket from done to close. That's all what it's do. So basically it's auto closing the tickets after 2 weeks, that you don't have to do this annoying last click on, okay, it's done, and it would not be, it's fully done, let's say, so it's finished, and that it's going off the board. You just have to close it. So let's automate this annoying thing. This would be this one. And there is the GitHub integration, kind of, as I described before. You have trigger points that are coming from integrations. In this sense, GitHub. When a pull request is created, then check the current issue. If it's marked in the commit message, if this ticket has the label GitHub, so it's enabled. And if it's in the status progress already, then put it to in review. And that is how you do it. So basically you click here through the things and you define what should happen. Word of advice, don't over-engineer. It can become really complex. But it gives you a really powerful thing to automate this stuff where you say, okay, this is an annoying thing that don't need actually a human interaction, or that is coming from an integration and should just follow what is happening on this other workflow, on this other software. So in this sense, GitHub, for example. And as I was on this last feature or demo, so to say, for me, the interesting part is actually when you couple this all kind of good together, you get a really easy to use for the developers, up to date for the product owners, good structured for the dailies, and having not annoying clicking and whatever moving tasks for the product owners. So if you combine this really nice, you get a full, almost self-working kind of Jira. And this is basically where I see the potential of this. So the so-called synergy effect. So it's not just one feature standing on its own. It's both, basically, if you combine them, they're really powerful. And it's, if I don't know if you followed my, or actually Geza's post on this Jira service management, they are actually do this in their new project kind of style. They have builds and stuff. So maybe this presentation is 2 weeks too late, but this is how I do it gradually when I was moving to my different positions in Data for Life. So as a developer, I looked at the API. As a product owner, I looked at the filters. As the team lead, I looked at the dashboards, and then combine everything together with the automation. So that was basically, I touched these features not all at once, sondern during my time and different roles. And then I realized this potential and this nice fit of all together. And this I wanted to actually just share with you. So basically here are some follow-ups. This using Confluence as frontend was a speech of one of, from the DKB, from this bank thingy. They used the same what I presented with this table and stuff in Confluence. Clean up deleted project is a little bit, for this presentation, I set up the new project that was wrong. I have to delete it, and deleting a project is not an easy task in Jira. Okay, so there you have to do some really fancy stuff to get it deleted, but we should also clean up stuff, even if it's complicated. And there's this, what I mentioned, the smart commit thingies, where you can manage the issues from within a Git commit message. And yeah, actually, thanks for your, hopefully you barely stayed with me. It was quite long. Actually, I don't plan it to be so long, but yeah, anyway, thanks. And I really believe in the, don't say Jira, but I really believe in if tools offer certain things and you use it to the full power, you can be better and improve and maybe get actually just away the annoyance sometimes. And we all have to work with Jira together. So keep, not this one. Yeah, okay, basically this one. Keep this in mind, right? So thanks.